Salãmun Alaykum, everybody. Welcome to another Quran study. Today we'll be reading from Surah 2, the Heifer, Al-Baqarah. Let's all seek refuge in God. Let's all seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Verse 1. ALM. This scripture is infallible, a beacon for the righteous. So these letters prove ALM specifically prove this Quran is from God. This Quran is as it's said in verse 2. It's a beacon, a light, a guide for those who are righteous and sincere about their belief and wanting to be righteous and wanting to be redeemed. So there's an asterisk in verse 1. So if we read, I'll go ahead and read the footnote for verse 1. Just to summarize, ALM is one of the parts of the code that proved to be infallible. So that's what this footnote is going to say. So these initials remained a divinely guarded secret for 1,400 years. Now we recognize them as a major component of the Quran's extraordinary mathematical code. And you can see appendices 1, 2, 24, and 26 for further information. The meaning of ALM is pointed out in verse 2. It says, this scripture is infallible. So this is incontrovertibly proven by the fact that the frequencies of occurrence of these three initials in this surah are 4,502. That's for A, 3,202 for L, and 2,195 for M, respectively. The sum of these numbers is 9,899, or 19 times 521. So we see this is a multiple of 19. Thus, the most frequent letters of the Arabic language are mathematically placed according to a superhuman pattern. These same initials also prefix Surah 3, Surah 29, Surah 30, Surah 31, and Surah 32, and their frequencies of occurrence also add up to multiples of 19 in each one of those surahs. So that's amazing, This is just one part of the miracle, but it's I mean, every part of the miracle is special, but this is at the beginning, basically of the Quran. ALM is the first, or the letters that are prefixed, the first set of prefixed letters in the second surah. And it's not by coincidence that you have other surahs, a surah after it, and then four more surahs that the A, the L, the M's all add up to a number that's a multiple of 19. I mean, no human could keep track of this stuff. It'd be impossible, So we see in verse 2, the evidence of and the truth behind how it says the scripture's infallible. All right, moving on. 3 categories of people. 1, righteous, who believe in the unseen, observe the contact prayers, salah, and from heart provisions to them they give to charity. So we can see from the header, we're given the first category of people, which are the righteous. It says there's 3 categories of people. And we see in this verse, we see the attributes of the righteous. They observe the contact prayers. They give to charity, from God's provisions, the angels, and that's the meaning of R. It's noted in double asterisk, which I'll read the footnote for that in a minute. So if I read the first footnote dealing with the Salah, just to summarize, the contact prayers are the main meals for the soul. We have evidence to back this up. And the contact prayers were already in existence and given to us by Abraham. So we'll believe in what was revealed to Muhammad, the Quran. They'll also believe in what was given to the messenger of the covenant who came after Muhammad. This Quran that we're reading from, God's Quran. And as well as they believe in the previous scriptures, the Old Testament and New Testament. That is what is They believe that what is truthful and hasn't been distorted or tainted in that, because the previous scriptures, they still advocate and contain truth, which is devotion to God alone. We see this in Deuteronomy. We see this in different parts of the Old Testament, even the New Testament. We even see this in Ecclesiastes. I mean, we see that there's so many scriptures that in the Old Testament and the New Testament. I mean, even the Book of Revelations, which is a little distorted in areas, but we, as is mentioned in the footnote below, which I'll get to in a minute, the distortions are obvious. So because anything that contradicts the Quran, or opposes any of the themes or truths that's found in the Quran, we know that's not true. But there's parts that big parts that still advocate the truth. How there's several verses I have saved. I won't go over them, but they talk about how basically what the Quran says, and Adam's like anything said from the rooftops or anything that is spoken or concealed in the innermost hidden rooms of a person will all be brought to light on the day of judgment. I mean, this stuff is in the Bible. There's other that say very similar things. So when you show this to people, or to a Christian, that might be an idol worshiper, they a lot of times they just give you the runaround. They don't know exactly what to say, because it's they don't believe they don't even believe in their own scriptures from that. But moving on, so the distortions are easily detectable because we have the Quran, which guides to the truth. Anything that opposes what we find in the Quran, or the Quran doesn't really mention or deal with, we don't focus on those things, because God, it's a blessing that we're given the Quran, so we should be grateful and appreciative for that. So we see another key attribute about the righteous, and that's certainty about the hereafter. Certainty is crucial. Dealing with belief is, just as certain as we are about, the sun rising tomorrow. Like we know it's going to rise, by only, because God is doing it. But that same level of certainty that humans have about, that they can see the moon tonight or the sun will rise tomorrow, like they don't even think of it. They don't ever worry about it not happening. We have to have that same level of genuine belief about the next life to come, because that's important, and you can also tell, if people, if they really believe in the day of judgment and the hereafter, if they're just giving lip service, because you can tell by the way they live, because it gets, and despite what people might say, people you might know or meet in person, other, monotheistic religions like Judaism, Christianity, or I mean, even, Islam. I mean, these so-called believers, they say, oh yeah, I believe in heaven and hell, or but if you if you know this person, you examine them, someone who actually like really believes in the hereafter, you'll know that because they'll know they'll be held accountable, and so they'll either reform if they need to, and basically they won't continue living how they used to, and they will reform and won't persist in their old ways, like if they were, living a certain way. So this is obvious because you can tell this person really believes like they're going to be responsible for everything they've done. They're not just giving it lip service. They genuinely believe in the hereafter. Okay, verse 5. These are guided by the Lord. These in the New Testament still advocate absolute devotion to God alone. And we see this in Deuteronomy 6, verses 4 to 5, and Mark chapter 12, verses 29 to 30. All distortions are easily detectable. So we know the truth. We know we can easily detect the truth. Based off the Quran and what God's given to us. So, verse 5. These are guided by the Lord. These are the winners. So guidance only comes from God. The righteous, the people, who fully submit to God will be the winners on that day. And God's guidance is the best guidance, and it's the only guidance we should ever seek. Not seek guidance from these religious scholars or these teachers that get up on TV. And despite what we may see, so many people are following them, or that they speak eloquent. They could even be captivating. But there's just a lot of them are just they just make you feel good for the moment, and make you forget about what's really important. Like someone else can bear all the sins you did, and people are comfortable with that. People like that. And that's why they that's what their hearts secretly desire. So their ears let them listen to that. You know. So verse 6, the disbelievers. So this is the second category of people. As for those who disbelieve, is the same for them, whether you warn them or not warn them, they cannot believe. And there's a footnote that I'll read right after. God seals their minds and their hearing, and their eyes are veiled. They have incurred severe retribution. So, reading the footnote for verses 6 and 7, those who make a decision to reject God are helped in that direction. They are prevented by God from seeing any proof or guidance for as long as they maintain such a decision. The consequences of such a disastrous decision are spelled out in verse 7. So, yeah, these people, because sometimes I used to have questions a long time ago, like, why do some people just disbelieve, or like, how could God send these people astray, or why would He seal their mind? But it's as it's noted in this footnote, and as God increased my understanding, and listening to Dr. Khalifa, the messenger, he explained it perfectly. So basically, these people, the people that want to have nothing to do with God, God would say, "Okay, you don't have anything to do with me. I'll help you with that. I'll actually deceive you, and help you with that." But they're responsible for whatever they earn. Whatever retribution they incur, having their minds and their hearings and their eyes veiled. They're basically asking for that, because they don't want to have anything to do with God or the truth, or devoting their lives to God. So God consequently he helps them with such a thing. So we see their attributes. These are also the people that take no heed to warnings. So so they can't believe because they choose to have nothing to do with God. So consequently they're sent astray because of their initial decision. Now this decision, as it's mentioned in the footnote, as long as they uphold this decision of not wanting to have anything to do with their Lord, they will be prevented from seeing or hearing the truth, even if it comes to them. You know, so and I just wouldn't understand, like, especially if you why would you want to have why would you not want to have anything to do with the one who made you, the creator, the most glorious. It's really disastrous. That's, as it's mentioned in the footnote, it's well said. It's a disastrous decision. The consequences are spelled out in verse 7. Okay, moving on to verse 8, the hypocrites. So this is the third category of people. Then there are those who say, "We believe in God in the last day," while they are not believers. In trying to deceive God and those who believe, they only deceive themselves without perceiving. So this is the third category of people. excuse me. But they actually aren't, and they can come in many shapes, forms, and sizes. They can be hard to spot, but I mean, even they can even be amongst within your own, like, brethren, or even amongst your own family. If, like, they happen to get the message. I mean, eventually they'll be exposed because they end up just self-deceiving. They think they can outsmart God, and those who believe. If they think they choose to believe a certain way, that they can change the truth to fit. And they think God's unaware of this. I mean, there's other attributes to these people too. I mean, they walk, they talk like the believers, but they just end up digging themselves a hole, and by their own words and actions, God exposes them. Um, and read the next verse. In their minds is a disease. Consequently, God augments their disease. They have incurred a painful retribution for their lying. So, we see that in the minds and even the hearts of hypocrites, there's something really wrong, to the point of, the verse says God will increase their disease, augments, only to further expose them, and perhaps increase their punishment in the next life. Um, they so this is something, that it should, be talked about, as these types of people, because Satan, is always after. I mean, if he can make someone a hypocrite, that would be he would probably really enjoy that and like that, because I mean, we see in the Quran that the hypocrites will have the lowest, be in the lowest pit of hell. And I mean, the type of, not to go off topic, but it's just a good reminder, like, what's at stake for us, the submitters, believers, what's at stake for us, and then, on the contrary, but they'll have the worst torment. I mean, the worst of the worst, like, that's unimaginable. I mean, so this is something that it's really good to be extremely careful, about, because Satan will always try to target us. If he can't make us disbelieve, or he can try to make us amongst these people. You know, Verse 11: When they are told, "Do not commit evil," they say, "But we are righteous." In fact, they are evildoers, but they do not perceive. So, see why these are very dangerous people. I mean, even as a mentor, he had some good words on this and some of his audios and videos to us. But these people are so dangerous because they claim to be righteous, and we see this. I mean, the people. A lot of the big names that come to mind for me are these big pastors. I mean, you don't even have to be a big pastor. You could be a pastor in a small town, or or just a growing YouTube pastor. What I'm starting to see. I mean, these preachers, these muftis, these religious scholars, these so-called spiritual experts, these religious authors. That they're so quick to tell you it's this, and this way, and they claim to be doing, like, some great service to society by guiding all these people. There's legions of people that follow them. I mean, depending on who you're talking about, they claim to be working such righteous deeds. They're helping people. They make show of them, and so many people, it's scary. They just, like, look to these hypocrites. When they're actually being guided to hell by these people. I mean, the Quran talks about this. These people that continue to follow these false teachers and these evildoers, they're going to be blaming them in hell. They're going to be turning to their leaders and saying, you deceived me, because ultimately they're worshiping their egos. Because at least with a disbeliever, you're not gonna. He's going to tell you, or he or she and someone who says they believe, a hypocrite who gets up there, and preaches these whatever worship sermons, and then they'll actually follow them and believe them and that hypocrite's leading all these people astray. So you can see the damage that that a hypocrite can do to people, to whole congregations, versus like a disbeliever. He can't really harm anyone because he's harming himself, and he's hurting himself, and yeah, you could probably hurt others, but he's not like a deadly poison because his position. He's tells you, oh, this is what I believe. So you can act accordingly, make the appropriate decisions based on that knowledge of this person's belief. You know. Um, okay, so and something else. We have to scrutinize ourselves and always be open to improvement. Because like I was saying earlier, Satan were his prime targets, and so as I heard in a submitted study some time ago, it's once you receive the message of submission, life is going to be changed forever. In the sense that you have a very big. It's a gift. It's mashallah. It's a great gift, but it comes with a great responsibility. To remain steadfast, to remain on the right path. To be open to improvement. And never being quick to think we're so righteous. Because that's how Satan sets a trap for us. Because really, if people were so good and righteous. And you can see the hypocrites think this way. I was just, you watch a video, or you hear from a friend about what this pastor, or and I'm not just pointing out pastors. There's, probably decent, but what I'm saying is, they claim to be so holy or so good, like they're God's gift to humanity, and they can do no wrong. But really, if they knew why we're here, if we're such perfect creatures, why did we even get sent to this place? Why? Because we chose to come here for our shortcomings, or our big egos, not making a firm stand with God, God's absolute authority. So that should tell us that we really need God's help and protection, and mercy. Verse 13, when they are told, believe like the people who believe, they say, shall we believe like the fools who believe? In fact, it is they who are the fools, but they do not know. So, looking at this verse, seeing it as, so I guess if you invite, them to believe in God alone, the hypocrites, like the genuine believers do, they think you're committing an error. They think, like something's wrong with you, or, like, oh, like you don't have the truth, they have the truth, or you're such in great error. We see religions, the mainstream ones, like the monotheistic religions. And it's funny, what it's turned into. They're called monotheistic religions, but which that's the principle they were founded upon. But Satan obviously has come in and distorted them to the point of all the big three have integrated some form of idol worship. We see the messenger has said something about this. Like the Muslims, or quote so-called Muslims, that idol worship, they're forbidden by God from saying La ilaha illallah. He's witnessed this himself. They cannot say that there's no other God but God, or there's no other God except the one God, without saying Muhammad. You see this with Christians too. They'll mention God and stuff, but they can't go very long at all without eventually bringing Jesus into the equation. Which makes no sense. you know. So, verse 14, when they meet the believers, they say, we believe, but when alone with their devils, they say, we're with you, we were only mocking. God mocks them and leads them on in their transgressions, blundering. It is they who bought the straying at the expense of guidance. Such trade never prospers, nor do they receive any guidance. make an attempt to deceive and plot. And I mean, even go as far as making fun of the believers, because I mean, at least, like I said earlier, at least with a disbeliever, he won't trick you and try to deceive you by saying, "Oh, we believe," Because at least he's honest about his disbelief. Where a hypocrite is simply a dishonest, deceptive disbeliever. Because a hypocrite is still is someone that doesn't. They think they're believers, right? They're not actually believers. So they're just a very extremely dishonest, deceptive disbeliever. They're even self-deceiving. And God sees to it, because they really they can hurt the believers, But may God protect us. So in the verse, this second part of the verse 14, we see that the hypocrites, they take sides with their jinn devils. I guess possibly their own companions and maybe human devil allies, but I'm guessing with their personal devils, each one of them has a devil, so they take sides. They say, we are with you, we are only mocking, and I mean these people and behind closed doors, I mean, I guess depending on like the I'm not saying there's different types of hypocrites. I mean, maybe there is, but they all fall into the same category of hypocrites. But there may be some. I mean, especially at the time of the Prophet Muhammad. I mean, even Jesus, and I'm sure the messenger, Rashad Khalifa. That there was people like this who act like they're out, act like they're allies, but secretly behind closed doors or when they're away, they plot and scheme, to work with the devils against the believers. They're infiltrators. Because I mean it's very important like to recognize this because when you have God's revelations, like something like the Quran, being revealed to Muhammad or the new, the real, how do I put it? God forgive me. God's authorized Quran is it's as the world's never seen it until the messenger Satan will see to it that his point of view is advocated amongst the messenger and amongst the prophet who to try to work against them you know so because we see in the Quran, it mentions the prophets and messengers had hypocrites come in their midst, which is why God points them out in the Quran and exposes, number one, who they are, number two, what they do, and what their destiny is, as I think it's mentioned in Surah 4, where they're going. So moving on to verse 16. Talk more about them. It is they who bought the strain. I think I read this verse. It is they who bought the strain at the expense of guidance. Such trade never prospers, nor do they receive any guidance. So basically, they chose falsehood over the truth, which is the worst trade and worst investment. They could have had guidance, but they gave it away in the place of straying. So we see their example in the next verse. Their example is like those who start a fire. Then, as it begins to shed light around them, God takes away their light, leaving them in darkness, unable to see. Deaf, dumb, and blind, they fail to return. So the Quran gives us an example. The light here is referring, I believe, to the Quran, which, the guidance it brings, enabling us, humans, and those who want to believe, enables us to walk amongst the darkness that we were once in, and I mean even the darkness that's in this world. As in the last study, it was read, in Surah 113, daybreak. As darkness as it falls. So this Quran is the light that sets our path for us. Now, for the hypocrites, they could see this light, but God takes away this light, leaving them in the same state of being unable to see, because ultimately they chose this. And unable to see is referring to, it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm physically blind, like unable to see the truth of unable to see God's truth. So verse 19, another example, a rainstorm from the sky in which there is darkness, thunder, and lightning. They put their fingers in forward, and when it turns dark, they stand still. If God wills, He can take away their hearing, their eyesight. God is omnipotent. So I'll read the footnote really quick. He and she do not necessarily imply natural gender in Arabic, Appendix 4. So you see, we given in the second example, similar to the first, that they try to seek the light, but God takes it away from them. So we might ask why. Well, these people are obviously not deserving of the message. It's not seen that God does not see to it that they believe. Even though they still may try to seek the light, and eventually the light is taken away from them, leaving them in darkness. You know. Second verse, O people, worship your Lord, the one who created you and those before you, that you may be saved. So we're commanded to worship nothing other than God, the creator of us and everyone before us. This is how we will be saved. The one who made the earth habitable for you, and the sky a structure. He sends down from the sky water to produce all kinds of fruits for your sustenance. You shall not set up idols to rival God, now that you know. So who else could provide all these things for us? Why not worship the one who made all these wonderful things for us? He's the sustainer of all things. I mean, imagine if we didn't have God, nothing nice would exist. I mean, everything would fall apart. There would be nothing to hold ourselves and our bodies together. I mean, nothing to rotate the earth and hold the sun for us. Nothing would work. Everything would just, cease to function, work. There would be nothing to live for. I mean, basically, it would just be misery and hell. We see from empirical evidence, how humans live their lives. They're oblivious to all these wonderful things. They take them for granted. I mean, even at one point, we could say before guidance and the light came to us, we were amongst these people. But God chose to redeem us. He chose, God willing, will be redeemed in the hereafter. But He chose to help us and guide us, because He knows He knows each one of our situations in our hearts. So I'm getting short on time. I'll wrap this up real quick, God willing. Verse 23, mathematical challenge. If you have any doubt regarding what we revealed to our servant, then produce one surah like these and call upon your own witnesses against God if you are truthful. So I'll read a footnote. I'll read the next verse, and then I'll read the footnote. Allegorical description of hell. If you cannot do this, and you can never do this, then beware of the hellfire whose fuel is people and rocks. It awaits the disbelievers. So looking at the footnote, it says, the Quran's miraculous mathematical code provides numerous proofs as it spells out the name Rashad Khalifa as God's servant mentioned here. Some literary giants, including Al-Mutanabi and Taha Hussein, have answered the literary challenge, but they had no awareness of the Quran's mathematical composition. It is the Quran's mathematical code revealed through God's messenger of the covenant, Rashad Khalifa, that is the real challenge, for it can never be imitated. And you can see appendices 1, 2, 24, and 26 for detailed proofs. So this was at the time. This is what this verse actually refers to. What we revealed to our servant, being the messenger of the covenant. I mean, even if all the humans and the jinns, I mean, we know the jinns are very powerful creatures. Even if they bind it together, they couldn't be met. And looking at the next verse, it's you look at the only, we see the last verse, verse 24. We see here that the warning of the hellfire is to those who try to challenge the Quran and its mathematical miracle. When they challenge this, they're actually challenging God, and only the arrogant and prideful will do this. So as it says, these people are going to be sustenance and fuel for hell forever, and that hell awaits them. So such is their destiny. It doesn't pay to be arrogant or prideful or argue with God's proofs. It's so much better to take
Thank you, brother.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, brother.
It's good.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah. Thank you all.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, brother. Praise God.
Just to open up because I feel awkward with silence, I guess. The contrast that I see in these verses is essentially the believers and the non-believers, and the three kinds, right? And as Brother John has kind of mentioned, the non-believers, they seem to be very adequate or very accepting of their non-belief, right? Whereas hypocrites, it's that contrast where like they say they believe, but as it mentions, they kind of bite their hands behind, right? And it can be overwhelming in life, that I've noticed, or at least this is my perspective. And God willing, I'm not saying anything false, but you have a lot of these people, and it can be very overwhelming, especially in today's day and age, where a lot of things that have existed thousands of years ago, in Sodom and Gomorrah times, and you see it kind of prevalent around you. But I think that's the beauty of it is, the whole purpose of this is to prop truth against falsehood, right? To show the power of truth over all this falsehood, and you're starting to even recognize a lot of these disbelievers, a lot of these hypocrites. They're even noticing the problems in what they've kind of brought with them spreading this falsehood. And I think that's kind of beautiful in a way that even though there is such a small amount of truth, it defeats so much falsehood that is prevalent in the world. And I think that kind of leans to the fact of how truth is so poignant, how like nothing can kind of deter it. That was just one thing that kind of brought up in my mind with these verses.
Salãmun Alaykum. SubhanAllah, I was listening to the recent audios released, and somewhere a messenger says, these three categories of people that have been mentioned in chapter 2, the righteous, the disbelievers, and the hypocrites. That resonates back to verse 7 in chapter 1, Al-Fatah, or the key, where we say, the path of those whom you blessed. Messenger said these are the righteous people that have been blessed by God, been guided, not of those who have deserved wrath, and that refers to the disbelievers, that God is angry with them and they've deserved wrath, nor of the strayers. So this is the hypocrite. The hypocrite is a person who actually was guided initially, so saw the light, as you mentioned, brother. So saw the light, but then it straight off the path. So this refers to the hypocrite. And mashallah, whenever we say our prayers like 5 times a day, and we repeat these ones, it just gives it another perspective. Mashallah.
Yeah, mashallah. John, you were saying that Satan would be even more excited to have somebody go as a hypocrite, because that's the lowest pit of hell. And he couldn't be any more happy to see anyone go as a hypocrite. disbeliever is out for us. Either we are righteous or hypocrites. So, this is kind of scary to think who we are. I was having a debate with some people that I mentioned something from the Messenger of the Covenant's audio tape, something that he said, and they said, well, we don't take that. I said, why not? He said, well, we only follow the Quran and the footnotes and this and that. We can take videotapes, but the audios is not part of guidance. It's just his thoughts or something. They don't take it. And said, well, the audio is not. It's not like he was having a barbecue or having on the dinner table. They're having just a chit chat. I don't like this color, or you should paint that, this and that. I mean, this is a Quran study. This is not. He's not attending a concert. They're not at a football game. This is Quran study. And Quran's verses are being recited. And explanations are given, whether he's leading or somebody else is leading. He's explaining the verses. And he's explaining through the Quran. And he's a messenger of the covenant. So when God says that obey God and his messenger, so if you believe in him, then you are, you're bound to follow what he said. That Susan that who disbelieved, maybe she's a disbeliever that rejected him as a messenger. But if you believe him as a messenger and then not follow what he says, that put us in a very red area where we become hypocrite. So as for I was like clearing my point of view that as far I am concerned, I'm gonna follow whatever it is, man. Whether whatever it is, if he's saying about the Quran, if he says he doesn't like football, he like baseball, that is something different. But as long as we're talking about the Quran and the Word of God, I'm gonna follow it, even if I make mistake in that. But I have a clear, solid case on the Day of Judgment that my Lord, I follow what He said. I may have made a mistake or something, but I don't want to be a hypocrite. MashaAllah, praise God.
Much of the audios are very much explanations of the verses. May I ask, like, what the topic was that they rejected it? Because whenever we listen to the audios, like, praise God, it's God's mercy that at that time there were technologies available to record the Quran studies or the teachings of the messenger. And that clarifies quite a lot of verses, we read the Quran. Yes, we understand it. Of course, God guides us and God is the teacher. The messenger explains the verses, and when he explains the verses, even like the headings that he has included for the verses, just gives it another perspective. I personally don't sometimes read the verses in a context that the messenger explains them. And then when you listen to these audios or when you read the headings or the footnotes, I'm like, oh, wow, yes, of course. If you look at it from that perspective, it just makes very much sense. And praise God for clarifying these verses for us. So I don't really understand what is it against these audios or footnotes or headings that the messenger has included. I don't see them as anything extra to what is in the Quran. It's just the explanations, and the explanations are very righteous. They're not personal opinions,
Yeah, absolutely. These studies were so helpful. Self-explanatory, the way he explains them right through the Quran. Like one of the objection they have is, the word insurance is not in the Quran. So, and then Messenger says, and they hold that part. When Messenger says we only follow Quran and whatever in the Quran we follow that, and I'm paraphrasing some of these words that he says that if I bring something out of Quran, you tell me, I will be the first one to throw out. So they take that literally, and then they apply so many things into it. Well, the word insurance is not in the Quran, and he said that, so we're gonna throw it out. Well, he explains whether even though the word insurance is not in the Quran, but he explains what is insurance. says that, in my kingdom, there's no problem. You will never suffer any problem. So then you don't need insurance. So if you buy insurance, then you are not depending on God. You're not fully trusting God. So that's leaves, in our part that our faith is not strong enough. So, so that's where, the problem is that he does explain the word insurance, but it's not in the Quran, but he explains through the Quran that why it is prohibited. And things like that, they take it literally where, well, it's not in the Quran. Even the messenger says we're not going to take it. But listen to his explanation, like changing the name and many other things, zakat, another thing that he go in detail to explain, in which situation you are and everything. So this is where people get exposed, And I was listening to the messenger the other day, and then he was talking about the when you come into submission, the shifting process starts right away. There will be things that happens to you, and then the bad apples falls down the conveyor belt, and only the good ones that are gonna stay on the conveyor belt. So it's kind of that kind of process. Praise God.
Yeah, mashallah. I mean, Messenger explains that insurance is not right because of two reasons. One is that in the kingdom of God, if you are in the kingdom of God, you got perfect health, inshallah. And then the second one is that it is a game of chance. And when he says that, he's not talking it out of his personal opinion. The actuarial science, it's all about probability. The insurance is very much like gambling, right? And even the non-Muslims say that. Even the people that are in the insurance say that it is kind of like gambling. It is kind of like game of chance, right? So, mashallah, the messenger was a very was a very bright man and quite educated. He was not like one of those that says like, "Oh, Earth is flat unless I see it with my eyes." He knows things that are happening in the world. The way that he talks, he's well educated. He's well studied, and it's not just his opinion that insurance is a game of chance. Even if they don't believe in the fact that they are in God's kingdom, or they don't trust God, astaghfirullah, with the fact that, astaghfirullah, I don't want to buy myself any test, inshallah. Allah. But in general, I mean, even the common knowledge is that insurance is a game of chance, right? You pay money so that if something happened, you would get paid off. So you're betting on something. And it's just quite obvious, right?
Mashallah, there was a time that I actually prepared the document, for a company which actually worked with the state of California. That actually, if you don't have health insurance in California, you will be penalized. They will give you penalty for not having insurance. But then I prepared this document to, actually go and ask for exemption, religious exemption. And mashallah, it was the will of God that I actually created this document and put all the information about submission together. And then, so I transcribed the parts that actually are about insurance, and the Messenger of Covenant clearly talked about it. And if you guys don't mind, I can read them, inshallah. So here we have like one part in audio number 42, where the Messenger of the Covenant is saying that, so this part that we have quotation mark, it starts with that. It said that insurance is considered haram, divinely forbidden. I've actually added this part so that they understand what is the word haram if they don't know already, because of many reasons. First of all, it is a game of chance, gambling. Second, it indicates lack of knowledge about God, because if you know, then you know that if you're with God, nothing bad will happen to you. God will take care of you. Is God not sufficient for his servants? And then I added this part to show which verse of Quran it is. And also, insurance indicates lack of confidence in God. So there's some So here, yes. So we have this part that says that, okay, so we have this verse of Quran that says, is God not sufficient for his servants? And then we have, and also insurance indicates lack of confidence in God. So there is more to it than just game of chance. However, if you are forced to gain, if you are forced by circumstance without being deliberate or malicious, technically being malicious, when you cannot help it and you have to have insurance for some reason, or it is forced on you, then you're not committing a sin. So this is clearly what the Messenger of Covenant said. So we have to go out of our way to not have insurance, okay? If it is not legally obliged upon us, we have to go out of our way to not have it, because then if we have it, then it would be like, if we know that we can have this circumstance or this situation for us not to have insurance, then we must go out of our way to not have the insurance. So this is my understanding. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But for example, you buy a car and you have to have liability insurance on the car, and if you don't have it, it would be a felony. So then you're forced by circumstances to have it on your car. And then there was a person who told us that, okay, why don't you go to the DMV, Department of like Motor Vehicle, and tell them that you leave a bond of $34,000 or $36,000, and then you can remove insurance from your car. And I told him that, well, it's even worse. You're just paying the price of the whole fear right up front, you know. And if there was a situation that you could religiously be exempt from having car insurance, I would have been, God willing, the first person to go and remove the car from the insurance, you know? But then if the circumstances so oblige you to have it, like the car insurance that I mentioned, you can have it, and then you're not committing a sin. But if we don't, like, if there is a situation that we can go for example, say life insurance, or say health insurance, and you can make this situation for yourself not to have it, then you should go out of your way in order not to have it. So this was one part. There was also another part in audio number 20, that again, Dr. Rashad Khalifa says, it is very difficult for the human nature. It is very difficult for us to come true. It's full confidence in God. And I noticed it in many, many years with many, many believers. They eventually come around, but it's very difficult to talk them out of insurance. This is probably my mistake in typing it. It's out of insurance. For example, they just don't have that confidence. It takes a long time to grasp that. It also takes a long time to use this criterion: no grief and no fear. And this was one part that he also talked about insurance. And then there was audio number, okay. Yes, that was audio number 22. Then we have audio number 43, that he says that fear is Satan's tool with which he does it to his constituent. This is why insurance agents are probably very close to Satan. And mashallah, this is what I told that insurance agent, and I said that, okay, our messenger says that insurance agents are probably very close to Satan. I don't know how that person felt, but this is what Dr. Rashad Khalifa said, and I had to say that. So this was what I wanted to share with you, mashallah.
Thank you for that, brother. I didn't understand it to that understanding, but thank God I have a better understanding of why it's a sin.
Yes, mashallah. And we have the same information on submission.ws. So the way Brother Salãmun put it into actually words actually also helped me a lot for preparing this document. So if you go on submission.ws, let me share my screen. Jitsi is just kicking me out intermittently. So the device that I am streaming from gets kicked out, and I have to just come back in the Jitsi. So I don't know. Probably it's because of the. It says that more than 5 minutes for the purposes of something like business, it can't be used. I don't know if it is a new thing or it's only happening to me today. But anyhow, when I share,
it was doing that to me too, brother. I tried doing it from my computer, and so I did the study today through the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Because,
It's to me too.
Yeah, because the tablet is okay, but the laptop, as soon as I share something, it just after 5 minutes it kicks me out. But anyhow, if that is the case, we have to figure something else, inshallah. So this is if you look at the submission.ws and you go to the articles, you have this part, insurance prohibited in submission Islam, and you can read this part, and these are the audio that Brother Sulaiman just like put with the parts, and you can listen to them for yourself. And I have heard that there are some other sections I don't exactly remember, but I know that there are some sections in the new audios that we have from Dr. Rashad Khalifa, which are basically for the year 1982 and onward. Those audios have something about insurance in them as well. That I heard that Dr. Rashad Khalifa was just like saying something, like telling us a story about him, somebody like he was required to have insurance or something like that, and then on the form he filled out that like my insurance is with God. May God forgive me if I'm just like butchering the topic, but I'm just like trying to summarize it. And he was saying that basically God's insurance is the best insurance. So that's what it was. Mashallah. So
Yeah, mashallah. Best insurance, free of cost, and this insurance doesn't even let you get in an accident. It actually prevention. It prevents things from even happening. So it's far superior, far better, and absolute happiness. Mashallah.
MashaAllah, while we are on this topic, I also wanted to share a recent experience. So when you're going for like, inshallah, to buy a new car, they come at you from every direction. Like their first offer is to get some sort of protection, like for like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, mashallah, we didn't even look at that and we didn't consider it. And we told them, right there that it's a religious thing for us and we're not going to do that. But then they come at you, in another, like the finance manager might tell you, every car naturally is going to break down, and you need to get some, they even show you pictures of, cars in repair shops that then they tell you that it's going to take you like for every hour it's going to be $250 for your car to be fixed. So you need to have another like plan so that if something happens, they don't charge you $250 per hour. So that's another type of insurance that you need to insist. You need to, show them that you're so determined and not getting insurance, and they will be shocked. But eventually, mashallah, they will surrender to God's will. And then there is another idea of OnStar on cars, something that if something happens to you on the road, you have to pay like monthly, and they entice you by some sort of like free plan for 3 months, and then after that they're going to charge you. That is something that if something happens to you on the road, they will come and find you. So you see that there are different, Satan has different tricks up his sleeve that is going to get you eventually. They just come at you, and it's going to be a challenge. But mashallah, God helps the submitters to just stop any sort of negative thought and negative prediction about the future, because we have God's support, mashallah.
Mashallah. Also, any thing that you want to buy, say on Amazon, or if you go to Walmart or anywhere else, there's like a protection plan on them, And even if you want to go to Apple and then buy something, there's like Apple Care, if your cell phone drops and then breaks, we will replace protection plans, because they are just like also you are predicting that something is going to happen, and they are also satanic. It's the same as, you know, the same principle that we have for health insurance or life insurance or anything like that. MashaAllah.
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah. Oh,
go ahead, Brother Khalis. I'm sorry.
okay. Thank you, Brother John. Um, my my eye on this is people are instilled with fear on just anything and everything, so they use their money to purchase a protection that is not really protection at all, and it's just the devil instilling fear into them. That's what I'm seeing and hearing, is that they just have no true faith and trust in God, and that which leads them to purchase protection plans that really don't protect them.
MashaAllah, well said. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's you said what was on my mind. MashaAllah, it's all fear based, you know. And there's even a verse, you know, in the Quran. I heard it a few days ago when I was listening to it. Maybe Surah 4 or Surah, maybe Surah 4, I think. But it says it's the devil's system.
It's Surah 3, brother.
Surah 3, okay. Yeah, Surah, it's the devil's system to instill fear in the subjects, you know. So that's a tool he uses. It's just a bunch of fear mongering, and then it's also interesting to see. It's like any chance the devil can try to make, you know, do his best to make us poor. You know, he'll believe me. He'll do it. You know, because I mean that's basically you giving away your money for. You know, it's another way for him to, you know, take money out your pocket and give it to somebody else. You know, an unrighteous person or company, and you know, it's less money you could use to strive in the cause of God, or give to charity, or give to a relative or something. You know, so that's another way I think about it.
I have a question in this regard. Sorry, Brother Masood, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question in this regard. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to say something again on the topic of insurance, in this sense that, think of, like, for example, the rule, the law of gravity. Okay. Now, the law of gravity dictates that any object that, like, we're holding, you know, if you let go of that object, it will go down. It won't go up. You know, when we are on planet Earth, the object will go down. So it doesn't matter whether you are like a believer or a disbeliever or a hypocrite. If you go to the top of a building and you jump, you're going to die. Like if it is a tall building, say 10-story, you're going to die. There's no way out of it. Okay. So the thing is that my understanding is that when the messenger of God, we know that he is a true messenger from God, and he is the mouthpiece of God. So he's saying whatever God wanted us to know, and he's not saying anything out of his own desire, you know. So when he's saying that insurance is haram, so haram means absolutely forbidden, like divinely forbidden, like for example alcohol or like gambling. And when we have those verses in Quran, and we know that if we drink alcohol, we are dropping ourselves from the top of a building. Okay, it's like committing adultery. It's like, for example, gambling. It's like anything that, you know, you go toward that the definition of haram. When he says that in the audio that insurance is haram, it means that if you do it, you know, intentionally, and you know you have the information and you do it intentionally, well, technically you're dropping yourself from the top of the building, you know. So some people might say that, what if this happens? Okay, so that what if has this actually implication, or has this, you know, meaning behind their thoughts, that they have an instilled fear, you know, the fear that something is going to happen. Okay, and it means that, so one, they don't know God; two, they don't believe in God; three, they don't have confidence in God; and four, they're just doing the lip service, you know. So if you don't believe in it, so it's like, for example, going to the top of the building and say that, okay, I don't Sorry, I've lost the track of my thought because the Jitsi came out. I had to connect it back in. So it's like saying that I don't believe that gravity exists. Okay, so technically, when you buy that insurance, but you buy that protection plan, you are technically putting yourself in the dominion of Satan, and you are allowing Satan and his agents to inflict you intentionally. Okay, so that's the first problem. That's the problem that would happen to people, But do you believe in it or you don't believe in it? If you are not bound by circumstances, and if you are just like doing it out of fear to have like a protection plan on something, then you are just allowing Satan and his agents to inflict you. That's my understanding. So that's why we should go out of our way to make sure that we don't have anything, that is there, like in our life, that is related to insurance, and it is technically haram. For example, say, let me make an example. Like, for example, so when you're working for a place, they might give you life insurance, they might give you health insurance, they might give you lots of stuff. So if you can cancel any of those things, and well, it takes time, you have to fill out forms and stuff like that, you should go out of your way and do that. Inshallah, God willing, you must do that, because when you do that, then you understand that, okay, so you will be protected, because you said that, okay, your conscience is clear, that you know that you are on the path of God, and you are doing what the messenger of God, who by extension is talking on behalf of God, has told you to do, and you're doing the same thing, and you will be protected. And this is the real protection, not having the insurance, because having the insurance is stupid, And it's there was a actually paper that Brother Suleiman had on the website. I suggested to everybody to read it. It's by a professor of University of Toronto. He mathematically proves it to you that having insurance, he's not talking from the standpoint of religion. He's talking from the standpoint of psychology and mathematics and physics. And he's saying that, okay, when you are technically having insurance, it's like that you are making a bet with the insurance company, and you're betting with them, and you're saying that, okay, here's the money, say $100 a month, okay, and I bet you that this year my car is going to get into an accident, or my house is going to catch fire. So what happens at the end of the year? If your car gets into an accident or your house gets on fire, then you win the bet. But did you really win the bet? Technically, you have lost the bet, right? And the insurance company takes gives you back the money and say that, okay, here's the money, you won the bet. Your house caught on fire, right? It's the losing side on the side of the person who actually bet that his house is going to get on fire. Now, if your house doesn't catch on fire, what happens? You lose the bet, but still the insurance company is going to take your money, and the insurance company is going to win. So basically, either way, the person who is paying the money to the insurance company is the loser, and the insurance company is the winner. But technically, the insurance company is the loser as well, because they are the agents of Satan, as the messenger of covenant is saying. Okay, they're the agents of Satan. They are closer to Satan. Because they're just like feeding off the fear of people. 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Let's go back to the time of Prophet Abraham. Okay, did he have insurance? Did Prophet Muhammad have insurance? Did Prophet Moses have insurance? Like, for example, was there a company to insure him that he doesn't get killed when he goes to the palace of Pharaoh? Or like, did the mother of Prophet Moses have any sort of insurance to put on the child and put him in a basket and put him on the river? So, well, none of them had any sort of insurance. So the insurance is a relatively new topic, and obviously it couldn't have been discussed 1,400 years ago in Quran, but God, out of his mercy, sent his messenger, the messenger of covenant, to us to explain things to us. And mashallah, now we have the information, the correct information about
here. So, insurance companies versus insurance. Like, I think there's like a broad term here, and forgive me if I'm wrong. God forbid, I used to be an insurance broker, so I guess I'm maybe, God forbid, I'm trying to justify my own things here. But I have a couple of questions in this regard, and God willing, I won't be arrogant enough to dispute it. It's just I have questions. So first things first. So I'm God willing, I'm trying to start a company. Now we're not trying to have insurance, but on a contingency account where we take a certain amount of money. Should anything happen in the future, that money out of that account will come out. So that is a type of insurance, but it's not relying on anybody else except for the money that has been given through the company. So my question is first, is that haram, right? Like having a contingency amount put to the side for like a rainy day fund or something like that. And then second of all, when it comes down to like warranties and various things like this, where like I'll give you an example. Like if you have a car, for instance, and you can mathematically point out that if you were to keep your car for 5 years, and the cost of just oil changes, which God willing is inevitable should you have that car for 5 years, the cost of having those oil changes paid for that amount over those 5 years versus paying it all up front, you see a cost savings. Is that haram, right? And hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm very interested.
Could you paraphrase your question, Brother Justin?
So there's two questions. First one is like self-insurance. So if I were to put a certain, let's say I make $1,000 a month, and I put $100 away on top of everything else to just save, strictly should something happen in the future, right? So that way there's a buffer. So that way, should something happen in the future, I have that money to spend for that future emergency.
Okay, so I think that you mean like saving money in your, for example, bank account, correct?
Yes.
Okay, saving money in bank account is not insurance, okay? You are saving money.
What if that bank account is specifically for that emergency, though?
Okay, so that means that you're afraid, right? That's my understanding, that you shouldn't be afraid. Why should you be afraid that there's going to be a rainy day? That would imply that you're not sure that you are absolutely 100% covered by God, protected 360 degree, like these, antiviruses on computers, or like these, warranties that, they're absolutely protective and stuff like that, So the protection that you have from God and his angels, okay, is way beyond our understanding,
Okay, so here, I'm going to contrast this with an analogy, and God willing, hopefully, God forbid, I'm being arrogant. It's just, this is maybe the justification in my head, but like, if I were to go rock climbing, for instance, I would want the insurance of a harness and a rope, not because I don't want to test God. Does that make sense? Like I want, like, God willing, I'll go up that rock face with no harm. However, that harness that I purchased, and I'm not financing or anything like that, and the rope that I have there is there just in case something happens. I'm not afraid.
Yeah, again, that just in case shows that you don't have the trust in God. That just in case, exactly, that just in case is like what if. That what if, it means that you don't have 100% trust in God. It means that you have like a little bit of fear that, well, okay, God, I know that you're saying all these things, but I don't believe that. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not saying that at all, brother. What I'm saying is, I don't want to. There's a reason why I don't go close to cliffs, right? It's not like that I doubt God at all.
Okay.
But
no,
like,
that's fine. That's fine. I
okay.
mean, but the thing is that it's not your job to do that, correct? You just
So you're going up the hill with the harness that you purchased only once, but there's no insurance on the harness.
Well, the harness itself is insurance. It's in case you fall.
No.
I wouldn't say the harness is insurance. I mean, it's like wearing your seatbelt. You know, God has the system. You know that we're not supposed to test God, because if I mean, I thought about this a while back. You know, but I was just coming to understand it. But yeah, if I like, you know, if I start walking too close to the edge of a balcony or something, like, oh, God's got me, or you know, I'm not wearing the, you know, right personal protective equipment, you know, like for the work I do, and like, oh, God's going to protect me from this danger. It's like that's kind of being, I guess, a little boastful or proud or you know, testing God, because He has a system in place. I mean, just like He would use shields, excuse me, shields in the time of war. You know, it's talked about in the Quran. You know, the believers just didn't go out fighting like, oh, you know, I'm gonna be protected by some invisible. I mean, which could also happen. You know, but we're not supposed to test God like that. You know, so like they had shields to protect them. You know, it's a system in place. But yeah, what Brother Masood is, I guess, trying to, you know, say is it's something we have to work on, you know, trusting in God. And it's Satan will always try to put that fear in us, like, what if, you know, there's a thing or a little old saying that I grew up hearing, you know, I don't want to say it like it's some type of profound truth, but it was just interesting. But it says, if the word if is the devil's favorite word, you know, and that's just basically it's saying the word if, like, oh, if I would have done this, or what if this happens, or if this happens, then I'll have to. Basically, he's just putting fear and anxiety in you. When most likely, if you're leading, like if you're doing the right thing, you're not going to even have to worry or look over your shoulder or worry about, oh, what if this happens, or you play out this scenario in your head, because you realize, like, as long as you keep your end of the deal, the covenant we made with God, and you know, do your best every day to you know, uphold His commandments and do the right thing. You know, God will take care of you. You know, and that's something, God willing, you know, you can work on. I mean, we all can remind ourselves, you know, because God's in fully, as the Quran says, He controls every atom, and that even smaller, you know. So any fear, it's almost like saying, like, if you worry about something that this might happen, it's almost like you're not acknowledging the fact that God is doing everything. Because if you know He's doing everything, He never does anything bad, you know, or anything to hurt us. If that happens, it's honestly, it's from ourselves, you know, carried out by the devil, you know. But yeah, God willing, you know, we can. It's trusting God's. It's a big thing, you know. It's really important, you know. And God willing, you know, you can come to a good understanding about it.
MashaAllah, brother. Brother Justin, the thing you mentioned about harness, you know, early in submission, I had the same understanding that, okay, now I'm 100% protected, so let's not do anything. But the thing is that over time, I learned, mashallah, that, you know, there is a system placed. For instance, when the weather gets cold, you know, the place you're going might get cold, you know. You take a jacket in case it gets cold. It's not like I don't want this jacket because I'm not going to get cold. You know, it doesn't make sense. That harness is like that. And you pay it only once. And also, I want to remind myself and everybody that, like, about the account you mentioned, just something in case something happens. And the thing is that we have a verse in the Quran that, first of all, nothing bad happens to submitters, mashallah. That's God's guarantee. And then the second of all is that He provides for us. Let's say we make a mistake and then we are being punished, you know, Satan is going to pinch us. Then in that case, God provides for us. And I have seen it, you know, personally, you know, as a relatively new submitter, you know, He's constantly looking after us. He's taking care of us, and Satan always has a limit. You know, you're not everybody here has experienced like that. And also we have a verse in the Quran that says God provides from whence you don't expect. So you shouldn't be saving up for that. Also, that saving account is good, but saving for a disaster is not what a submitter does. And also we have another verse that God's mercy includes everyone, but the thing is that it's a specific mercy on those who pay zakat. So you are doing your zakat, you're paying your zakat. That means that you're already protected. You have a special mercy from God. And sorry if I didn't say the correct verse. It's that I paraphrase it. Also, if you are so concerned, if Satan doesn't let you, have peace, then you can do like inshallah extra like charity with the money that you are saving in that account. You can just put it in a regular account and then start giving more to charity, because again, I have felt it. You have even more protection, more mercy from God when you do that.
Okay, so and maybe, and God forbid, I'm being ignorant, but I think there's a misconception of what I said. So it's not like in case. So like, let's say for instance, and I just want to give you an example, okay? Let's say I have this company, God willing, and I have many drivers driving vehicles, and I have a precedent showing that my company has 1 to 2 collisions a year. And the damage I have towards my vehicles and others is, let's say, $10,000. And before I claim any profits for that company, I put that saving there. So when it does happen, inevitably, out of these 10 drivers, one person gets a collision, I have that money to, first of all, fix my vehicle, their vehicle, and then have my vehicle back on the road. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, and maybe I don't understand, but like, it's.
Correct me if I'm wrong, brothers and sisters, but that's okay because it's just savings. It's not monthly or weekly allocated funds to a protection. That just sounds okay because I'm just hearing it's savings.
So the reason why insurance is wrong is because you're anticipating something bad to happen, and then you're seeking something to come and save you from that disaster, and restore the damage, So the thing is, when you're using gear, for example, for protection, you're not anticipating something bad to happen to you. You're just using blessings that God has given you, but you're not using it. You're not anticipating the bad to happen to you. Like, for example, in case of insurance, you're anticipating theft or accident or things like that, right? But when you're like, using safety measures, the anticipation is not there. It's all protection. That God will protect you. Things will be protected. By these things. But insurance kicks in after something bad happens, right? So that is the difference between protection versus insurance.
And I have this feeling, that if you start saving money for the purpose of the rainy day, that would also imply that you're afraid. It's not that the rainy day is supposed to happen. It's the fear that Satan is instilling in us, and is implying to us that, okay, you should not have full trust in God, and know that, rest assured, one day the problem is going to happen. So have that money in your account that one day that happens. So I have that feeling that even that saving money in the account would have that idea of fear instilled in it. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
The thing is, So the thing is, the saving itself is money for rainy days. I mean, rainy days doesn't necessarily mean bad things. But like people, I mean, yeah, rainy days mean like, you may be needy for something, right? Let's say, you want to buy something nice, you want to change your house, you want to go somewhere nice. There are many reasons for people to have saved money. Saving money is intelligent, it's not bad. Or I mean, a lot of people save money as an investment. They invest, and the money multiplies. And people just don't put money nowadays in bank accounts for it to stay what it is. They put it so it multiplies also, right? So that's also a form of investment as well. But the fear is the problem, right? So the reason is, why are you doing this? The why has to be, if you are you anticipating disaster, so then that disaster anticipation and the fear, that is wrong, right? But saving money in itself is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And we can't say just because someone's having fear that they can't save money. They can still save money. Money saving is not prohibited. It's the fear that is wrong. People should not be having fear, because you can have fear while you have savings. You can have fear when you don't have savings. So don't have fear, but yeah, saving itself is fine.
Yeah, mashallah, the fear is something that we have to work on, and we have that verse in Quran. If anybody, please help me with the number and the surah number. Actually, it says, "Allah anna awliya Allah la khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun," meaning that those who are like the friends of God, those who are with God, there is no fear for them, and they do not grieve. There would be no grief for them. So technically, grief is for the past. And if you are with God, you won't have any grief about your past. You see that whatever happened for a reason, and you don't have any grief about your past, as well as you won't have any fear for the future, because you know that you're protected by God. And that fear is something that we have to work on. I can't I can speak for myself, and I can't say that I'm 100% fearless. No, that would be a lie. But the thing is that I'm working on that to make it better and better and better and better every day. For example, one of the things that everybody has problem with is like fear of provision. What if I get laid off and stuff like that? And then you have to talk to yourself and read the verses of Quran and see that God is promising you that your provision is in the skies, and it is just like what you are speaking. So if we believe in the verses of Quran, we have to believe that our provision is coming directly from God. So we should not be afraid. Again, we have to, and this fear is coming from our jinn companion. It's just like instilling the fears of their master Satan, to us, and we have to seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected, and consistently remember God, consistently trying to say zikrullah, the mentioning of the name of God. And then then your heart is going to rejoice, that we have the verse in Quran that says that Allah wa zikrullah tatma'innul qulub, the hearts of the people rejoice in mentioning the name of God. So basically, when you remember God consistently, you become more entrenched in this belief that I am absolutely protected and there is nothing to be worried about. And then the fears start to go away little by little. Logically, if you look at verses of Quran, and since we believe that this is a book from God directly, so we know that these are the words of God. Our Creator is talking to us, the Creator of the provision, the Creator of Satan, the Creator of fear, the Creator of everything. And that Creator is telling us, don't be afraid. Okay, so we have to work on that to actually understand that when he tells us don't be afraid, we shouldn't be afraid. So this is my understanding, mashallah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Justin, brother, would you mind of repeating your last comment about what you were saying? I just want to make sure I got it.
Just repeating it. Are you talking about the insurance or the insurance account or the warranty?
The other one, yeah.
Okay, so in terms of kilometers, all your maintenance will be paid for if you pay $4,000, right? And then if you understand how much, God willing, you'll actually drive, and you just take into account of how much oil changes, if they were like $150 every every 6,000 kilometers, and you add that all up, and it's more than what this service agreement is that haram? Right? Like, because like it's logically it makes sense that it's a cost savings. You know what I mean?
So, but warranty doesn't necessarily cover oil changes, right? It also covers it also covers damages and everything, right? So, I mean, if you're just getting a service package, car warranty, I think, yeah, that makes sense, right? Because you're just covering like your maintenance and all that, right? So it's not for saving you from accidents and stuff like that.
Okay.
But you know, the thing is, warranty is a very generic term. Like in terms of your car, they call it a warranty, and it makes sense. So when you're getting services, right? But when you get warranty for like a washing machine or other things, right, then it becomes different, right? Because the washing machine does not need service and stuff like that, right? So I think you have to be able to differentiate like what this warranty means. Is it insurance? Because in terms of a washing machine, it is insurance. In terms of a car, the warranty may not be insurance because you're just getting basic wear and tear support, right? But even wear and tear is like, okay, well, you're expecting things to stop working too, you know. So, but if somebody just says like, you know, this is a service package, you pay, you know, $20 a month, and you get all your oil changes. I mean, I mean, I think that, so then that is not, the idea is that obviously, you know, you're not putting in money as a game of chance and expecting a huge return at the end, you know. So.
But mostly the car industries, the people go for the fear part. They go that, okay, this rest assured that any car that we have like is going to get into trouble, and there's going to be a problem with that. So they're going to go with the fear, and they said that, okay, look at this car, look that the air conditioner has stopped working. Okay, so have this warranty, and then we are going to protect you from the air conditioner being stopped. And I think that it's the same idea as going up the top of the roof and then throwing yourself up, because the messenger of God says that the insurance is haram, so we shouldn't have that, because we know that we are not going to get into trouble, and if we are on the path of God. SubhanAllah.
Yeah, and even any place that offers you warranty and stuff, like, they've already calculated their risk. They're not giving you any bonuses. They're just trying to make as much money as possible from you by using these things.
Exactly, by fear, right?
Yeah.
And Brother Justin actually mentioned something about the statistics showing that like 2 or 3 cars per year are getting into accidents. I don't know. I didn't get that statistics. But the thing is that if we look at the statistics, it's wrong, because the majority of people are either disbelievers or, we know that they don't have a strong belief system. And submitters, when they are following the commandments, inshallah, they have full support, and they are not part of that statistics. They shouldn't be part of that statistics. By statistics, everybody is going to get some sort of cancer before they die. But we know that we have full protection, in God's kingdom. Inshallah, we don't have cancer, we don't have accidents. And I mashallah, by God's word and by what the messenger said, I believe that even if you are, establishing a new company or you already have one, you can avoid being part of that statistics by removing any sort of prediction for disaster, by relying on God, inshallah, and then you will not be part of that statistics.
So, just going back on that, me personally, I don't have this type of contingency account. Thank God, I do recognize that everything's provided by God and all that fun stuff. But when it comes down to the company, I have to represent a certain amount of shareholders. So when I build these accounts, when I build these budgets, I have to should the roof, like we have to save up for, 20 years, the roof will go down. So we have to save up for the roof being replaced in 20 years. Stuff like that, right? Like, so there's various accounts. And this contingency account, like, don't get me wrong. I believe that, God willing, whatever comes my way, it's a test, and I'll have to do what I have to do at the time, and God willing, I'll act accordingly and I'll act righteously. However, I'm not the. I may be the only submitter in the company, right? That doesn't account for the other drivers and all this fun stuff, right? So should they get in the collision, that takes away funds from the company, and to have that money there quickly just to fix the vehicle, so that way there's not a loss of funds and all that fun stuff. Because statistically, it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when. That was the question. Does that make sense? Or does that change anything?
Well, when you say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The company is yours, right?
Well, I'm not sole proprietor. Like I'm a share of 5, so there's five people involved, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, regardless, I mean, you should still trust in God. But the thing is, if there's other people involved, and the thing is that if they want the contingency, and you could be in a situation where if you feel you're in a situation where you're forced, let's say, like, if you decide tomorrow that, like, if it's your own business, I'd say you can save money still, so it's fine, right? It doesn't matter. But if, let's say, you are a business, I mean, I'm just trying to simplify this conversation, right? So let's say you're a business, you're forced to carry insurance for one reason or another, by circumstance, whatever that circumstance might be. You feel that you're forced, it's fine, right? You can even have insurance in a business. Like, I operate as a business, clients will not work with me as a business unless I carry insurance. So in those circumstances, if I don't have insurance, I'm not going to get any business. It's just how things work. So in those types of scenarios, you can have insurance. God understands that. You're not doing it because you're maliciously expecting all those bad things, and you're expecting all that. It's just a requirement that people have, and you're forced to fulfill that requirement. And you're not being held liable for that. You're not doing it all. That something bad is going to happen, and I'm going to use it. People are going to sue me and all that. You're not doing it for that reason. You're just doing it because they say, hey, if you don't have it, we're not going to work with you. So you have to carry that, right? So in those types of circumstances, even insurance is fine, right? But like we're just talking about allocating funds for whatever happened, unexpected scenarios. But contingency could be anything, right? To me, it doesn't necessarily mean that uh, something bad is necessarily going to happen to you, right? It's more generic than that. But even then, if you feel like, if it's your own business and you don't want to have it, you have enough funds, that if some minor things happen, you'll take care of it. But let's say you have other partners and they say, no, you have to have this fund, or we're not going to do business with you. Like, this is not right, whatever. I mean, you can do that, right?
So, and maybe this, maybe I'm understanding why I've convinced myself of this. So you can actually not have insurance through an insurance company if you have a contingency amount. So, like, for instance, when you buy liability, or when you buy a collision or whatsoever, if you show that you have that certain amount of money
to cover, yeah,
you don't have to purchase it through, and then you don't have to pay the usury on top of it. And that's how I convinced the other shareholders, hey, we don't have to go through insurance if we have this contingency amount, because we will have the funds, God willing. Right. So, like, and I'm trying to see,
that's
like,
not gambling. That's just your own money. You've saved it, and you're gonna use it when something happens. If something happens, right?
Okay. Like, I just didn't want to say something astray.
So my understanding is that, okay, so that's your way of trying to get away from insurance. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, you can physically show that you have those funds available for liability or whatsoever. So you don't have to be insured, right?
Yes. Okay. So if you don't have that money, legally you are bound to have insurance. But if you show that money, then you can legally get away from insurance, correct?
Well, it's still technically insurance. It's just self-insurance. So you're not paying somebody else, right?
Yes, correct. But then it would be different, then because in that situation, you're not afraid. If you don't have that fear in yourself, okay, and you say that, okay, I am consciously trying to get away from insurance and have this money in the account, and show it as a proof that I don't need insurance, okay, then you are putting your trust in God, and your money is in your bank account. You are not afraid, and you don't have insurance, and I think that that's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is your way of trying to get away from insurance, so that's you should go out of your way to get away from insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
if you don't have that money in the account, then you can't have the business, correct? So you're bound by circumstances, but you're not afraid. If you don't have that fear, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, but either way, I think what's important is that in circumstances when we're talking about savings, right? I mean, this is just a savings, right? You're just putting some savings in an area for whatever reason, right? The thing is, you can still keep your savings wherever you want for whatever reason. You can't say, well, the savings is now prohibited, right? For any reason, even if you have fear, right? But the thing is, you shouldn't have fear. The fear is prohibited. But why is insurance prohibited? Because it's an active act of gambling. Regardless of your fears, it's an active act of gambling. But with your savings, you're not doing any gambling. First of all, right? You've just put the money there. It's your money. You're gonna use it when you need it. So that's not gambling, right? But insurance is gambling because
Correct.
you're putting $10 a month, and you're expecting $10,000 worth of damage to happen to you during this time, and you're saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna have this big disaster and all this, I'm gonna win this thousands of dollars, I'm gonna cover all of those damages. Betting against yourself. Yeah,
correct. But again, I think we have to work on our fear as well. Try to
that's
get rid of
separate,
it.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's a separate thing. Fear
correct.
itself
Absolutely.
is a separate thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. MashaAllah.
God willing, the only thing we'll fear is the retribution of an awesome day. So, God willing, the only fear we have is disappointing God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mashallah, brings me to think about, just real quick, I wanted to say the Surah 114 people, it's a really good Surah for protection because, when you think about it, there's so much fear mongering that goes on day to day. I mean, even if you choose not to watch the news, like CNN and all this doom and gloom, I mean, you because we live in a world like the majority of people are not submitters, right? So like your coworkers could be just I mean, obviously we tune them out, but if we aren't, like, I'm speaking for myself here, if we aren't careful to constantly thinking about God, or I mean, even a family member could be like, because we witness with our own eyes and ears how many people are out there driving on the streets, walking in stores, like they're just fear, this bad is happening, and it can kind of get to a point where subconsciously it slowly instills like fear in you, like if you're not aware, like being aware of God. So that's a surah, that's a real good surah, I say. And then because it's titled people, and so people, I mean, obviously our companions, our jinn companions can work on this too, but being as submitters, we live amongst so many non-submitters, and having to deal with them, it's good to maybe avoid the people or situations and places that they let them live in fear. That's what that's how they choose to live. And we trust in God, just so they don't rub off on you. Because that's like Brother Masood was saying earlier, and I said, God's doing everything. As long as we're doing right, we should be okay.
So I want to add something about the issue of the insurance. So my understanding is like if you want to buy insurance from the company, you have to pay them. But to have insurance from God, so what we need, we have to have full confidence and full trust in God. And even if we have a little bit doubt about the God, we lack of trust, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So, and say if you have insurance, health insurance, and you cancel the health insurance, and you have full trust in God, and after a few months or after a few years, you have some disease. So, we have to verify something that maybe there was some lack of confidence about God, or I did something wrong. I am not going to blame God. Oh, I know I canceled the health insurance. Still, I have a disease and I am suffering something. So we have to verify our belief, and we have to verify ourselves. Maybe I was not doing something. That's why even though I canceled the health insurance, I am having some issues. So and lip service, we know that lip service does not count. So we have to have full confidence and trust in God, and God will save us. This is my understanding. If there is any lack of confidence, this will be doubt. It's not going to work. Yeah, this is my understanding. Thank you.
I just get these weird comments every now and then. So this is a side topic though, but someone named Dorothy commented on one of the videos of Rashad. Right, I've just posted in the chat. I mean, there are these random Jesus worshippers, that they come and they post these fanatical comments. So this one's, I think this is about Jesus. I could be wrong. Well, it sounds like it is. She says, I know the man who confirms the truth as this man of intelligence was used to make the way. Right? Sounds like it's talking about, like, his spirit is in the light and his demise will be a wrath upon those who removed him. He was seen already and placed in a position no one can no one can being the fourth the message. No one can being fourth doesn't even make sense and live. The soul just returned. This year we will witness the one who is 19, and all scripture is him. He lives and will perform this covenant with the unseen. All will see and hear him. He is miraculous and waits in the east. All churches will close and all wombs will cease to function upon his arrival. He will engulf the wombs of righteous female and produce many seeds that will grow from his presence.
It sounds like Jesus.
A more perverted version.
So what is this again? Some guy on YouTube?
Some random woman, I believe. Making a random.
A possessed one. This doesn't make any sense.
Mentally possessed by Satan, yeah. Mentally challenged and possessed by Satan. No, not. I don't know. Yeah,
I'm noticing that too. A lot of people are just saying Jesus instead of God these days. Like even when I was in the Christian church, I didn't hear Jesus nearly as much as I do now. You know what I mean? Like where beforehand it was like trust in God. That was like the common phrase. Even when you look at the American dollar, it says "In God we trust." Now God's kind of totally taken out of the picture, and everybody's praising Jesus alone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's definitely well, it is what it is, unfortunately. But may God protect us.
is God, because like for example, you come across like Christian artists who sing, these Christian songs, and like you look at the lineup, and like I'd say like 7 songs are about God, and 2 of those songs are saying Jesus is God, So and mentioning Jesus as God, So they know that to them they're sure that Jesus is God. Even if they say God, they're talking about Jesus, right? So
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes no sense. It's
yeah.
right. They use them interchangeably. I mean, I was just reading a post on Facebook the other day. I mean, I laughed at it like to myself, not like making fun, but just how the absurdity of it. But they were talking about God for the first half of the post, and then suddenly they were talking about Jesus, like, and I was
Hmm.
like, well, who is who? Like who is like suddenly you're talking about God as Lord, and then you say focus everything on Jesus. But just a
Hmm.
minute ago you were saying God, and it was like, and like logically, like even if you didn't even, I mean logically, I mean a young child can understand, like logically this doesn't make any sense, But and I had like trouble for a long time understanding, like how could these people like so openly or blind, like just fail to see just even the logical aspect about this. And I think it was like 3 Quran studies ago, Brother Suleiman mentioned these people are hypnotized, by Satan, and that explains it perfectly. Because like you couldn't be like this, like openly blind, if that kind of makes sense, but like without
Yeah.
being hypnotized. So hypnotized is like
Hmm.
the perfect way to describe it,
Hmm. So yeah, I mean, so I was just watching this video, I think a few days ago, and this guy, it was like one of those, like almost like started off like as one of those reaction videos where somebody's talking, a bunch of people are talking, and this person's reacting. So I hear some really nice clips from like a lot of people who are pointing out the fact that Jesus never said he was God, and all the proofs regarding that, and everything like about how people didn't believe in early on that Jesus was God, and all that. So I mean, with all these smart things, and then he pauses it, and then after that, it's almost hilarious, like the way he starts talking. He just starts talking and explaining. He's like, no, but the thing is, he said he was God, and the way, and he's starts saying all these stupid things, about him being all 3 and all this stuff, right? But it was the way that he delivered it. Every time he says those things, all those lies, I mean, he makes this face like he's so smart, and so genius, and he's just saying all these stupid things, which is not even like countering all the things that he has played before about the proofs that Jesus was not God. It was just funny to watch, like, and it just reminds me of that hypnotism, right? Because he's just making a complete fool out of himself in public. Well, he doesn't know about it, has no idea, but it was hilarious just to watch it. His face and his facial expressions, I think, did it. Because as he's saying it, he's trying to wanting to sound very smart.
Yeah, they're right. That's something, you
Yeah,
see, but they don't even realize, like they're
yeah,
really sounding so foolish, but they can't see it, like
yeah,
you actually, like it said, they're just hypnotized. If you look
yeah,
at a person that's hypnotized, I mean it's the same
yeah.
example as these people.
I have a question. Sometimes Christians
Hmm.
they'll argue with like certain things, like the I am, where I think it was someone was, I think, was it Moses told to go to the people and tell them I am the Israelites, I think, and then they'll get it confused with Jesus saying I am God or something like that. Is that like there's certain things that they argue with that I notice, or even like the Trinity, when I haven't come to realize the Trinity being in the Bible or anything. It's just I guess some woman came up with it.
Yeah, the Trinity isn't even part of the Bible. And I mean, you show the people these proofs, like the Trinity was, I think it came around the 1800s. I noticed they get, like, if you really show them the it's too scary for them to accept or question. Like, what if I was lied to for so long by so many people? I have to go against the grain. I might, like, dig into this. It's they're fearful to, like, explore, so then they just put up this barrier and then just make up all this nonsense, or just say, oh well, you shouldn't quit. A lot of pastors, if you ask a pastor, like, a legitimate question, which I've seen somebody before, someone, I think it was a family member years ago, they were genuinely trying to learn, or they had a genuine question about, like, I think it was the Trinity. But if they don't have an answer for you, they'll usually tell you something like, oh well, you just have to you're lacking faith, brother or sister, or you have to trust in God, or the fact that you're asking a question, like, they'll tell you that's not a good thing, like it means you don't have faith, or just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, Khalis, I think with those types of people, what you need to do is, open Appendix 22, and you have enough verses in the Bible, to discuss, to start a
Right,
conversation, which will
right.
make them think, yeah.
So to answer Brother Callus's question in regards to, like, what it says in the Bible, God refers to himself as "I am who I am," and that's represented by YWHW, or Yahweh is like people pronounce it. The only time the Trinity came out, ironically, and you can even look this up and point it out to anybody, is the year in 325 during the Council of Nicaea, where known what's it called? Paganisms, because it was Roman. Known pagans conflicted about, well, we can't have just one God, we got to split into three. So you have physical proof of history where, like, it shows where the Holy Trinity came from, the year 325 in the Council of Nicaea. So, like, I show that to people, and usually they don't like talking about it after. But, like, yeah, thank God for the internet. You can see exactly where the Trinity came from, right? Yeah, it's falsehood by paganism put into monotheism to make, so that way people wouldn't have war anymore, right? Because two sides of Rome were not being happy with each other, right? One side being paganistic and the other side being monotheistic.
Yeah, mashallah, brother. I wanted to correct myself. I said 1800s, but I was thinking about something else. I was thinking about the rapture, which is another. That's what I was thinking about when I said 1800s. I missed
It's actually 325 years to be exact.
325 years. In my head, I'm thinking
Jesus.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And even reading into it, the whole debate was between two sides, and one side was like, no, there's only one God, and Jesus was a messenger, and they got overpowered by essentially the Catholic Church, like what it is now, and they were all known pagans. Like, even the guy who instituted it, Emperor Constantine of the Byzantine Empire, he was a lifelong pagan and then converted to Christianity. Just so that way it would solve a war. That is strictly the only reason why. So, like, Christmas, Easter, all of these are paganistic rituals that were instituted into this religion to make it, a fabrication, right?
One question that comes to me is celebrating, like, Christmas pagan holidays haram? Is it not to be done as a Muslim?
Yeah, 100%. Right?
Yeah.
100%. Like, first of all, it's like, if you ever want to understand, that's the winter solstice, so the shortest day of the year, and that's where they come from, the everlasting life and all that fun stuff, the stuff for Allah. That is literally a day of satanic rituals, and same with Easter, who was the goddess of fertility, the equinox, the equal day and equal night, right? That's why it's all bunnies and Easter eggs, because it was supposed to resemble fertility of spring, right? Like, these are pagan rituals. So yeah, I would highly idolatry to the highest level.
MashaAllah, Brother Justin, thank you for pointing it out. Actually, we have the New Year's celebration, which comes from, like the Persians do at the beginning of the season, like spring. The first day they do that, and they have like a table they set up, and there is that idea of the egg inside, and there is colorful egg that they add to. So there are paganistic elements in that table that actually they think is part of their culture. But if they go back, they will see that it was part of a religion, Zoroastrianism. And if you go deeper, you will see that they believe that you should talk to God, or like fire is the element that connects you to God and stuff like that. So it's also messed up. But people think it's part of their culture.
So you don't celebrate that?
I myself don't do that. It's just
So
you're the
first person I've come across that's saying that.
Yeah, they are very, biased about it. And
I've seen submitters, defend, like people who call themselves submitters, defending, and they're just openly celebrating and wishing everybody, and they're doing all these things also. They post pictures of tables set with all of these items, and I'm like, you're supposed to be submitters, so mashallah, that's great.
And the idea that day is going to, you're overcoming evil by celebrating that day. How is that going to happen? We know there are so many commandments that you need to follow to make that happen, in your life. And it's not just a like useless table that you set up, and they spend a lot of money on that. They are very luxurious tables, occasionally with the Persians, everything is luxurious. And the thing is that, I don't want to attribute it to God, but I can see elements. And if you do some, do some studies in the back, you will see it has roots in paganistic ideas.
Yeah, mashallah. I wanted to say people even like far more prey to, I guess, the obvious ones like Halloween. There's people, and I was like last Halloween, I was seeing little debates and people sharing posts and arguments on Facebook, like these these are Christians, and you see people like sharing, telling other Christian or the Christian friends, and I mean, even talk to somebody in person. Like Halloween is like an obvious like no, because I mean, if its origins are evil, it's a satanic day, like where rituals are a bunch of witchcraft, and like it's basically a day that celebrates the murdering of good believers and the saints and stuff. But like it's Satan's turned it into the point like he's tricked people to the point like, oh, it's so innocent, you dress up as these scary monsters and you go say trick or treat, and like you got people that say they, I mean, even if they're an idol worshiper, like it's one thing to like claim you believe in God, or like you're idol worshiping Christian, like, okay, you don't believe in that, that's good, like props to you. But like it's a whole nother thing, like if you're claiming to be that person, but you're bringing your kids to go do that, oh, they look so cute in their little costume, or you're making these family memories, like that's just something. That's a real obvious one that shouldn't, like, nobody like that claims to believe in God, should willfully, subject themselves to that, especially if like they've been told, or they see something on Facebook, the history behind it, Because I talked to somebody last year about that, but they didn't. People, it's crazy. People will come up with all kind of justifications, for like stuff like that, but there's no justifying that,
I think you reminded me of something. It was something I said to a friend. I said every good lie is steeped in truth, and I think that's kind of a way to see it. Is the reason how these people justify their lies is they bring some truth to it, right? Like you see this, on just the evils of this world, and you'll always say like, oh, it's empathetic, oh, we care, or when it comes down to even the pagans that most people I find are misguided, right? They justify it, as Brother John said, through a truth, and that justifies their falsehood, right?
Mashallah, there is another thing about like the Persian New Year, and the thing is that obviously when the we have the Shia sect in Iran, okay, and it was like technically became the religion of the Safavid dynasty in Iran. That was about, if I'm not mistaken, seventh or eighth actually century in the Hijri calendar. I need to find it in the Gregorian calendar. But anyhow, what happened was that Iranians tried to get away from that satanic cult with all the imams and everything, and all of the rituals that they have in the Shia. And then actually Nowruz and the New Year celebration became more prominent, and they wanted to get away from that satanic cult, and they went more toward these like satanic rituals and paganistic, ideas. That's what happened. So Satan, won both ways by repelling people from religion and attaching them to paganistic ideas and rituals. MashaAllah.
You see that with the Sufis as well, right? Like there's clearly ties to the same type of influence to the Christians and even the Jews, right? With like if you look into the Kabbalah, which is the satanic beliefs, right, of paganism, you see those beliefs transfer over to Judaism, Christianity, and even Islam in some sects like Sufism, right? So yeah, it's dangerous, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I still don't understand what is the issue with the Persian New Year. It's a Nowruz. We celebrate the first day of the spring, right? What is the issue with that? I mean, like even the prayers, etc., that people say, it's towards God. So we're reminding, it's the first day of the spring. We're asking God to, bless our lives, etc. I don't see why that is prohibited.
No, it's not prohibited. We didn't say that it's prohibited. We said that it has roots in paganistic ideas. With, like, for example, say the eggs that we put on the table. Okay, the eggs is the same egg that we have like for the Easter. And as brother Justin was explaining, it has to do with fertility and stuff like that, which has roots in paganistic ideas. That's what we are talking about. We're not saying that it's prohibited.
So when we put the eggs, etc., like in the hafsin, do you think that somebody else except God is going to be helping you?
So, Sister Mana, the thing is, it was hard for me to accept it at first, because we have deep feelings about it. We did it since we were like 1 year old. So the thing is that I did some research about the roots of this celebration, and I chose to not be part of anything that has roots in a religion that is other than submission. For us, it's a cultural element now, but it has roots in so-called religious ideas or misguided paganistic ideas that you need to study, inshallah.
So just to explain, we're talking about Nowruz, right? The Persian New Year. Every Nowruz has like specific things that you need on the table, like vinegar, garlic. These things symbolize like vinegar, and I'm just looking at represents age and patience that comes from aging, right? Wheat is for rebirth and renewal and good fortune. So like these are like, how can these things that God has created symbolize something else? And like this in itself is a ritual that, we're doing this to make our life better for the new year, right? Well, none of this can help us. None of these things that we bring to the table can help us. Nothing. We I'm speaking correct.
Yes, mashallah. That's how I felt about Nowruz. That me putting it on the table is not going to change my life. So why am I following something that I don't believe in and it doesn't align with a submission?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I understand it, like a symbol. A symbol does not mean that they have any power or they give powers to anybody or anything else. You know, it's a symbol. You know, people celebrate the Nowruz as the first day of spring. We ask God for His blessing throughout the whole year, and these are just like a symbol, like have a better life and more money, hopefully. You know, it's just a symbol. I don't see that. Well, I will look into it, but I don't see that as a request from anybody else other than God, or having the thought that like if I have an egg on my table, that egg is going to bring me, I don't know.
Yeah, but why do
And
you have the
a
egg on your
child.
table? I mean, we should ask that, right? Like,
So it's a symbol, Brother Solomon. It's a symbol. So they got like symbol of health, symbol of
yeah, but
wealth,
what?
symbol
I
of
mean, who made
happiness,
the thing is?
etc. So we
The
ask
thing
God
is,
for all of these ones, though. You know.
so the thing is, who made? I mean, for you, it's a symbol, right? And you may be perfectly justified, I think, but I think what we're talking about here is they just didn't these symbols. Somebody chose these symbols, right? And they chose them for idolatrous reasons because they believe certain things, right? And now when we look at these things, I mean, we look at them innocently, like we gave the example of Halloween, right? Like, what's wrong with going to people's places, saying trick or treat, dressing up like monsters, right? But you look at the origins of it, you're commemorating the dead, and there's so many things. So you are distancing yourself from traditions that have idolatrous roots that do not represent worshiping God alone, right? So I think so it's along the same lines. I think if you study Nowruz, like really go through the history, find out like where it came from, you know so then that why people are saying for you, like for example, for people who say we just celebrate Christmas. Oh, it's just about Jesus. Well, I don't really care about the religious thing. I just like to dress up and give gifts and stuff like that. People do that. So like they take these holidays that are idolatrous in their origins, right? Like about Christmas, for example, now, right? But the thing is, there's many people who don't associate with that part of it, but then they say, okay, well, we're just doing this. We're just going to, what's wrong with going to people's houses and giving them gifts, right? And stuff like that. Because they don't associate with those things, right? But just because you don't associate with those things doesn't necessarily mean that you should be a part of it, right? If it's a holiday that's generally revolves around all these things, or has a long history of being associated with idol worship, then it's best for a submitter to distance themselves as far away from it as possible, right? But you know if you're saying that you want to celebrate it as the new year, you think, okay, this is just for me, this is just a Persian calendar, this is a Persian new year, that's different. But then you're doing the celebration, you're doing those rituals also, that's where like it becomes tricky,
Brother, I mean, Sister Mona, I could also like, there's with this imagery, so like you see it all across like various paganistic religions. Um, there's very close ties to idolatry and like these images. So like, and it's not strictly the Persian New Year. Like it's rampant across all different cultures, all different religions, and like I've studied it quite a bit in my journey, just so that way I have a better understanding. And it's thank God it never well, thank God I strictly read the Quran as my only source and guide through God. But like this imagery is, well, Moses himself was given the statute book, and like one of the commandments that Moses was given is have no graven images or likenesses. And what that means is like literally anything that symbolizes an attribute of God is an idol of to ask or receive a blessing from God. And we know right off the bat, like, there is no intercessor. There's nothing in between our prostration between us and God. There's nothing. Like, even the Sunni religion, right? Like, some will say, oh, the messenger will pray for you or something like that. And, like, as soon as you have an intercessor, whether it be a person, a thing, an item, that itself, you are giving it more power than it actually is. It's a provision given by God. That is simply it. As soon as you make it more, that is idolatry. Does that make sense? And, like, I understand the difficulty of understanding it too, to some
Yeah.
degree.
I think also, if you look at people who worship statues, right? They know that these statues are not gods, but they say that they symbolize them, right? So, I mean, so if it's that, but that's literally worshiping an idol, right? When they do that, they have these statues, but they know those statues are not doing anything. So they've created those quote unquote symbols, right? But we're looking at them as literally just symbols, which sounds harmless, but the thing is, we're not saying it's prohibited for you as such, but the thing is, if you know something has roots within idolatry, for and these people did that, it was like blatant idol worship, right? As you can read from the history, it was just started out as pure blatant idol worship, right? And you took the idol worshiping part out of it, right, for yourself, which is great. But the thing is, if it's all that the history just tells you that this was all idol worship, why do you think that you need to be a part of it, right? Like, for you, in order to ask blessings from God, you should ask them every day. Every day should be a new day for you, new day of it's a new day, right? Nowruz, a new day. So every day should be a new day, and you should ask God for all the blessings, and God will bless you. And you don't need something that has roots in idolatry to be part of that. I mean, I know culture is and what is culture really? It's what the you know parents were doing it there, and the people after, they're following their parents blindly, right? So I think blindly is that, obviously, because you're not even looking at why they're doing it, but you're just doing it. So we shouldn't be like that, I think, right? Does that make sense? Also, it reminds me of the subtitle, like it says, examine all inherited traditions, right? So, this tradition for Persians, and, was celebrated very religiously, right? So you need to examine it. And examination obviously comes with you, knowing about its origin and history, and, where it comes from. So.
And also, there's this idea that, like, on the 13th day of spring, you need to go out and be in the. I think we have an easier time letting go of that, but they say, like, you need to be in nature, otherwise something bad is going to happen to you. That's another idea that it follows. And then there is this solstice, I think, the longest night of the year, and they have this idea of you have to stay up, celebrate, eat certain fruit. This, like, it's a harmless celebration, but we need to know what's behind it and why we are allocating some funding or stuff at our time to something that we don't know, and it's not in the Quran. And it's just I know it's hard. It's not easy, especially for Persians, but when you study, inshallah, you will see it's possible. If you would like to do that, it's not, we're not saying it's prohibited by God. It's just something that, when, as submitters, we feel like it's useless, because you can still celebrate the first day of spring, be happy, sing, dance, but you don't have a table or, follow certain rituals.
even has a tiny hint of idol worship, which this has a very strong hint of idol worship, right? So you'd probably want to stay away from it, right? For that reason alone.
And to go on this, and I got a question in this regard, okay? Because so my parents, my family, all that fun stuff, they recognize that I will not celebrate any Christian symbolism or anything like that. But we still have a dinner on Christmas Eve. Is that an issue? And it brings a good question up, because, like, don't get me wrong, it's not like we sing and dance or sing psalms or anything like that. But, like, just out of a family tradition to get everybody together, because obviously that's what my parents want to do. Is there a problem with that? And I would love to know that in particular.
I mean, I just wanted to say this, so other people can comment. I mean, technically, and I'm not trying to be silly or anything, but technically it's not even a Christmas day, so Christmas Eve, I know it has the word Christmas, but it's not. But then, I got to be careful, because, I mean, you can't, I don't want to make justifications. I mean, I'm curious too, because even for myself, that's something I wasn't really aware of. But like Suleiman mentioned earlier, when you start asking yourself why are people just getting together? And I mean, I know you said it was dinner, but I was still curious, like, why are people just giving each other presents and they have some tree in their living room? Like, it seems so kind of so. I don't want to be rude and say stupid, but it's just silly. And I mean, I know the act of it. It's like, oh, we're not even no one, and it's funny because no one, despite it being its origins are about Jesus, no one ever the ones I went to growing up, and no one even talks about Jesus or any of that. It's turned into basically a cultural thing. But I mean, I would say this, maybe, like, if as long as there's no trees or like, I mean, if it's just a dinner, I wouldn't see. I mean, it's not even on Christmas either. I mean, even if you had a dinner, like, everyone eats dinner still on Christmas Day. But I guess it's the intent behind it, and as long as there's no like the symbolic trees and the gift wrapping and the presents and all that.
Like, I'll give you an example. Like, and, like, thank God my family has been so accepting to it in the recent years. Like, they used to pray and then at the end say in Jesus' name or something like that. They've eliminated that to accommodate us, and I'm wondering if I'm still like, God forbid, I want to do everything I can to stay away from going against God, and it's these little nuances that I'm unfamiliar with, and God willing, I'll find the right direction.
And there's something else that I wanted to share. So we see that there are many celebrations religiously, which are entrenched in the culture. For example, say the Eid al-Adha, and which is the same as Eid al-Qurban, in Persian culture, So what is that? We know that the Messenger of the Covenant said that if you believe that God ordered Abraham to sacrifice his son Ishmael, then you will not go to heaven. So what is that? That is religious, and that's an order. That we shouldn't believe in that. And that's idolatrous, and that's wrong, and that's satanic, and we shouldn't believe in that. If we believe in that, we're going to hell. We're not going to heaven. So to the same extent, we can bring it to other actually sort of celebrations in other cultures. They might sound and seem innocent, and they are like harmless, but if you go deep down into them, you see that there's something going on, and most probably it has something to do with paganistic ideas and idol worshipping ideas. Like, for example, there are many celebrations which are done in Scandinavian countries. What are they? They are going, if you go deep into their ideas, you see that they are related to the ideas of mythology, the Norse like this bonfire, light it up, and then go into the just, I don't know, drive out the evil and stuff like that. All those nonsense. Okay, so if when we know that that's not the way, we shouldn't do that. Or the same goes for, like, for example, for the idea of evil eye. Okay, which is very innate in every culture. Okay, that people have like those blue eyes, and hang you hang it in different places, and you say that, okay, these are going to take out the evil eyes, and like stupid ways and stupid ideas like this. And we know that that's not how evil is going to be driven away. So partly they are religious, partly they are cultural, but then sometimes the cultural aspect of it takes over, and people forget that they had some sort of religious ideas to them. The same as Nowruz. And now I'm going back to Nowruz. Nowruz might sound and seem very harmless, and say that, oh, there's nothing going on in Nowruz. But if you go deep down into the symbolisms that those things have, then you would understand that there is some sort of paganistic and idol worshipping idea attached to it. And as Brother Suleiman said, we have to we have to stay away from any hint of idol worship. The Messenger of God, Dr. Rashad Khalifa, told us to stay away from any hint of idol worship. So we have to do that. It's for the betterment of us. It's not going to do any harm to us if we don't do those stuff. Rest assured that there's going to be benefit in those things as well if we don't do that. The same goes for, like, for example, Halloween, as everybody mentioned. Do you care about Halloween? No, because it's not entrenched in your culture. But for a person who has been born into this culture, Halloween is just like out of the question. If they don't do it, then they're not gonna just rest easily at night. So they have to do the Halloween because it's entrenched in their culture, and they have been born with it, and they have been raised with it. The same as Christmas and Easter and stuff like that.
Yeah, I want to correct myself. Thank you, Brother Suleiman. Yeah, so Christmas Eve is, Suleiman left the link. So yeah, it is actually still a pagan holiday.
Part of it, yeah.
Yeah, part of it. Mashallah. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, mashallah. Yeah, I think, if you want to keep in touch with family, I think just you can see them on Thanksgiving. I guess families unite on Thanksgiving also. But I think probably best to stay away from any celebrations of Christmas, right? So
yeah, mashallah. Thanksgiving, I checked the background for that. It was more harmless than the rest of them. It was had to do more with the first. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. It had more to do with the idea of the first colonies in United States, but I might be wrong. There might be more to that as well.
Yeah,
no, you're correct on that.
Non-religious, yeah.
Yeah, it was non-religious. Okay, so that's fine. If it is non-religious and it has no idol worshipping or paganistic ideas attached to it, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, also, I think, Justin, a good thing would be, that your absence in that very traditional family gathering will also remind them why you're not there, So I think we'll give a good message also to others that, there's there's something wrong about what we're doing here,
Mashallah, brother. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, but God willing, I'll whatever comes.
You can tell your parents, for example, if they want to give gifts or something to the kids, don't give it to them on the Christmas Eve. You can give them at another time, whenever.
They're not connected to that idea. Have it separate from that idea.
Yeah, I mean, they still, in the back of their minds, they would still want them to know, oh, this is for Christmas.
Yeah, you're correct on that. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's actually to be upfront, I'm more worried about my wife because she just loves it for the children, right? But God willing, thank God for that.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah. And there was one point that I wanted to mention is that, so according to the audios of Dr. Rashad Khalifa, the only thing, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that they like celebrated a lot was birthdays, and they recited Al-Fatiha for the people, okay? And interestingly enough, if you go into the hadith of the satanic hadith which are attributed to Prophet, you see that there are some Sunni, like extremist Sunnis, that believe that you shouldn't celebrate birthdays because they are connected to paganistic ideas. I don't know how they are connected to paganistic ideas. I never asked those people, but I just heard it from.
That's a truth, though. That's a truth, though. That's a truth. It is.
Yes,
right?
but the thing is that when the messenger of God did that, okay, we can rest assured, we can be sure that there is no harm in that, because the messenger of God recited Al-Fatiha for the birthdays of the people, and they said that, okay, now we have cakes and we can eat it and stuff like in the mosque, okay? So when that's done, it means that that's fine, but other than that, he didn't recite Al-Fatiha for anything else. There were cases, but they were not related to these celebrations and stuff. They were for if a person had a test, or was in the middle of a test, or had something, wanted to pass a test or something like that, to for as a sort of a strength, and asking God to help us, and showing our confidence in God, so that was the purpose of Al-Fatiha. There were many more purposes to that, but my point is that one of the things that I remember was that birthdays. But please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so Justin, I was trying to. So you said there's idol worship and birthdays, right?
So everything is. So when it comes down to paganism, everything is revolved around the fiscal. I mean, not the fiscal year, the annual year. So winter represents death. Spring is infancy. Summer is your middle years, and then autumn is
but
you're
we're
dying.
talking about
and then,
people's birthdays, right? That's different.
So what that symbolizes, and this is the same with the cross, ironically, because the cross is the 4 points of the year, right? The birthday is to resemble that you have went through another cycle, and through that cycle,
it's just a marker.
Sorry,
it's just a marker, right? Like, for example, you have the Jesus birthday, right? Used to calculate the end of the world, right? So your birthday is a marker that you have spent another year. You're a year older. I mean, that's all there is.
So I'll give you a perfect example. It's actually implicit in the name. Birthday. You only have one true birthday. Realistically, every other day is a birth anniversary.
Yeah,
but
you get
the idea is you get reborn because you've went through that cycle. Does that make sense?
So I always looked at it strictly as a marker, just to tell our ages, because I mean, if we quit keeping track of our birthdays, this was the day 1 year ago we were born, we're now 1 year old, and when we're 10 years, this day was the birthday 10 years ago, I'm now 10 years old, so it was just a marker. I mean, if other people from the past want to get all esoteric with it, that's them, I mean, God.
But John, there's nothing even there. What I think what Brother Justin is saying is that the year itself is the concept of a year is what is idolatrous, right? If I'm not mistaken. So, but the thing is, that's for us. That's just a marker. Jesus' day of birth is used to calculate the end of the world, and if we don't have that day thing, we don't know what year we are in. And God has created that as calculation devices, right? The sun and the moon. So that in itself is just a marker. So I mean, but I'm just associating that with the concept of a year, and I think that's you then, we'd have something to discuss, right? But I don't see anything in the history, that says that celebrating birthdays has some kind of a religious thing around it, right? Right, brother Justin?
Well, yeah, I guess it's all how you celebrate it, right? Yeah, like I don't think back in the day people celebrated their birthdays either, right? Like when it comes down to month, I don't think Abraham really cared whether he was 33 or 34. You know what I mean? Like he was like, all right, like I'm living.
Well, they didn't even know if they what day they were born in, right? I mean, they didn't have didn't have like birth certificates. Exactly. Like my grandfather didn't know when he was born, right? For example, so
yeah. So, like the thing that I, from what I understand, and like hopefully I'm not incorrect on this, the birthday was supposed to, like, every year was a rebirth, kind of like New Year's Eve, but for the individual. And it was like, okay, like you've survived another cycle, and then everybody would give you gifts for the next year. So like everybody would wish you a happy birthday, a happy birth of a year.
Yeah, right? But there's nothing idolatrous in there, right? We're talking about, fair enough. Yeah.
And I think that Prophet Abraham, like for example, if they wanted to have birth certificate for Prophet Abraham, they couldn't have had like the birth date as like say 5,000 or 7,000 BC, because there was no date back then, and so it probably didn't matter that much. But the thing is that right now we have calendar and the lives are faster, in this sense that we need to have a marker for ourselves that, okay, now I am 33, I'm 34. And then we have like the idea of the age of 40 in Quran, stating that if you die under the age of 40, you go directly to heaven. But if you die over the age of 40, if you're not a submitter, then no. Okay. And then so age and the years become really important. If they were not important, then we wouldn't have had the idea of 40, like the age 40 in Quran, So it's like really important that even the month matters. So we have to worry about like days, in this sense that we have to measure ourselves. Where are we standing with submission? How much time we might be left. We might be left 40 more years. We might be left 1 month left. We never know when is going to be our time of death. Okay, so we need to celebrate another year that we are in submission. And that's my understanding. And then I don't see anything wrong with that.
So if you actually look it up, it says that like paganism was like birthdays are a paganistic ritual. So like the ancient Greeks believed that each person had a spirit that attended his or her birth and kept watch. That spirit had a mystic relationship with God, astaghfirullah, on whose birthday the individual was born. The candles on a birthday cake are to respond to evil spirits. Blowing them out for every year is a light of darkness away from those spirits.
So the thing is, people celebrated birthdays before them, right? Probably. I mean, if someone down in the middle of this thing, decided to have idol. I mean, for example, for an idol worshiper, I mean, they're definitely going to associate with some kind of idol worship, right? So, but the thing is, people were celebrating birthdays before them, right? People, I mean, I believe. So if these people were doing it, doesn't change anything.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the way I looked at it. If people come along and just want to start inventing like different ways to do it, that doesn't necessarily set the precedent for all of mankind and the reason why they celebrate a birthday. Because like Brother Masood said, every, like my last birthday, I looked at it. I was thinking like what was going through my head, as I was, my mom made my cake, mashallah, and I was grateful. I just treated it like, man, this is another year God's given me on earth to work to redeem myself, and everything was good and nice. I mean, there was no idol worship, no hinting of. I didn't even, that's basically, it.
reform ourselves. And also depends on how you are celebrating it. Some people are very extravagant, and we know that it's not that good to be extravagant, but the messenger actually did it perfectly, and it just takes a lot of pressure off your shoulder if you want to acknowledge that, okay, you're getting older, you're getting 1 year on your birth certificate, and it's just al-fatiha, reciting al-fatiha, and just something sweet like a cake. It's not that something that crazy going on. And I think it's harmless because it doesn't have religious roots, and also specifically because the messenger of God did that. And I think
Exactly.
he knew better than all of us. If something wrong was going on, he
Yes.
would be stopped from that.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I wanted to say. If it was wrong, the messenger of God wouldn't have done that. And we have like lots of. It's not once. In those audios that they say that, okay, just like happened one time. It happened several times. That it was like a thing that they were doing all the time. So if there was anything wrong with that, the first person to would have not done it would have been the messenger of God. That's my argument.
Yeah, actually, that's important you mentioned that. Also, I think another important thing that comes to my mind, really, I think that kind of sums up everything in this conversation to me, is that this in this one study, there are some rituals that people do in, I think, in Pakistan and stuff, where when a child is born, they have certain rituals. Um, I don't know if their origins are idolatrous or not, but these people were celebrating them, and so they asked the messenger of the covenant if they should celebrate and all that, and he was saying, yeah, you can do anything as long as it's not religious, right? So um, now Nowruz, I think, is religious, right? It's a religious Zoroastrianism. It is. People may not associate it with it now, but it is. So is Christmas, right? But birthdays is not, So I think, so I think that's a simpler way to look at it, as long as you're not doing things for religious reasons, you're fine. So, but the thing is, if you're celebrating holidays that are inherently religious holidays, you know, you shouldn't do that because, you're, I think, inviting Satan to make a claim against you. But like, for example, they're doing this thing called, to be exact, they're doing this thing called akika, where I think they give, I don't want to misquote, but like, or misrepresent what it is, but it's just like a stupid rituals. They give us on, I think, in the ear of the baby or in treats. I'm not even familiar with all of it, but you guys can look it up. And he said, you can do anything, he says, as long as it's not religious. But obviously people are using it, abusing it, to use it for other things, like say circumcision. Like they say, oh, yeah, we can do circumcision for our children as long as we don't think it's religious. But there's more things going on with circumcision than akika, because you're not permanently disfiguring another human being against their will. you know um, so yeah.
God willing, brother, after the end of the study, if you could stay to talk about the Jitsi, that would be great, mashallah.
Mm, can we talk about it later, because I think we've already spent like 3 hours here. Over 3 hours.
No problem. Yeah, the thing is that tomorrow we have Farsi study, and we just wanted to know like what we're supposed to. If it is like every 5 minutes that it kicks us out, anybody who shares or anybody who is streaming, they will be kicked out. I don't know whether it was the case with the Turkish study as well or not, but this is something that happened today. It had nothing being kicked completely. Right now, if you check Masood the PC, it gets kicked every 5 minutes.
It just it just
okay.
happened.
Okay,
Like-
so just keep it the way you're doing it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you can join from your phone, right?
correct, but when we want to stream, the device that gets streaming, gets kicked out. Okay, every 5 minutes, or the one who shares, like the device that shares.
Okay, so right. So, but I think right now you're streaming from your computer, right?
Correct. Yes.
And the streaming is steady.
The streaming is steady. No, the streaming has no problem. The Jitsi gets kicked out every 5 minutes.
So, is it stopping Jitsi every 5 minutes? You're saying?
Yes.
On YouTube?
The Jitsi sends me out every 5 minutes, and I have to sign in manually.
Okay, I can call you after this. God willing.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, we could talk about it later, inshallah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, inshallah. So I guess if there are no other comments or questions, God willing, we can conclude our study. Thank you, Brother John, for leading the study. And thank you all for participating. God willing, our next English study would be on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. God bless you all. Salāmun Alaykum.
Salāmun Alaykum.
Yeah, so it's 2 p.m., not 2:30.
2 p.m.
Yes,
God bless you all.
God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Praise God.